Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here with another video review from Fanboys Forever. And I want to start by saying happy early Halloween. It is the beginning of October as I film this video, and we will be seeing quite a bit of kind of that spooky content that I love to put out right around this time of the year. Of course, I've done all kinds of weird gimmicks in the past. Not sure I'll have any time for any of that this year, but hey, stick around. You never know what you might see all through October. Today, of course, we're going to be reviewing the figure so nice I bought it thrice, and that is the Shredder as Dracula. This is, of course, from NECA's line of Universal Monster Ninja Turtles crossover figures. That's been going on now for several years. It's kind of like a modern update on those old crossovers we used to see Playmates do every now and then, like the Star Trek crossover with the Turtles figures, things like that. So it's really great to actually see this happen. It's two licenses that work really well together. And before we begin, if you haven't subscribed and liked the video and all that good stuff, please do so, and be sure to stay till the end and comment down below letting me know what you think of all three of these versions of Shredder as Dracula. Alright, so let's begin by telling you just a bit about what we're going to be covering and how we're going to do it. We're going to be looking at all three colorways of this figure. All three are identical in terms of sculpt and accessories and things like that, but it's just the colorways are dramatically different for all three, as well as what retailers you can find them at. The standard edition is the one that I have right here in the middle, and he can be found pretty much anywhere. I think mine, I found it at Target, and of course he can be ordered online in places like Big Bad Toy Store. As for the others, over here on the side, we do have the kind of burgundy, more movie colors from the old Turtles film, and you can find that at Target, as they never quite miss an opportunity to get like a red or burgundy themed variant. And over here you can find the Wal-Mart version, who is, well, blue. So Wal-Mart didn't want to be outdone in their color theming, so skin is blue and the rest of the figure is black. So the way I'm going to handle it is throughout the review, you're going to see me do lots and lots of comparisons and different looks, but of course you're going to see me switch around with these guys, meaning that maybe you'll see me do something like sculpt on one version, or paint or articulation on another version, things like that, as we just kind of switch around with which version gets the highlight. All right, let's begin. First off, for anyone who's curious, this is what the packaging looks like. Of course, there's three variations of this, but this is the Target exclusive that's a little more burgundy. And you open it up, and here's the accessories inside, but you just have a shot of the figure. And on the side, you have some of the previous releases. And on the back, you get this really fun kind of old school looking movie poster design. So I think that's really cool. And here's the title of the figure on the side. Just in case anybody's looking at Target, here is the UPC code. And here's the Walmart variation. See the accessories inside there, and there's the picture of the figure and the cool poster on the back. And of course, in case you need it, here's the barcode. And I'd actually already thrown away the originals box, so here is a picture of it. Overall, really nice boxes. So we'll begin here with the regular Shredder that you can find at pretty much any retailer. We'll start by just going over the overall look of the figure. You can see that there's an excellent fusion of designs going on here, with the original Count Dracula design from the Universal films fused very well with the Shredder design. You know, it's something that I'd been anticipating for many years, this design. It's been a while since we've gotten some new releases in this line. I was actually sort of starting to get worried that it wasn't going to happen. I knew it had to be Dracula for Shredder there, because we had the Splinter Van Helsing back there. So I thought, well, what else could it possibly be? And sure enough, here he is. I think there's quite a bit of contrast with this design when compared to the Turtles and kind of the sillier things they did with those. Those very much, you know, being fusions of giant turtles and monsters, they have their own distinct look, but it'll kind of do funny things to your head to look at this particular design, because it is representative of Shredder, I think, very well, almost like a kind of samurai old school look for the Shredder, but also representative of Dracula as well. So I do think this is one of those kind of perfect fusion situations, and it really is something else to look at. From the back, it even looks really cool, and I love the use of the scalloped soft goods cape, and I love the red trim around the armor. Very much it is, I think, like a lot of these designs, taken inspiration more from the original 1990 movie and that kind of fusion, not like a fusion of, say, the Shredder cartoon design or something like that. And I think NECA has sort of declared these a part of their movie line anyway, especially when you look at like Judith Hoag, like her likeness being used for the Bride of Frankenstein version of April. Not only that, but it's just obvious looking at the designs where they got their main inspirations from. Of course, we'll also have a look at the Target version that you can get. Here I have his head swapped out for the Uroko Saki Dracula head. It's a really cool thing because, of course, you know, they can't necessarily use Bela Lugosi's license without explicit permission from his family. Of course, that's a whole different thing, and Universal doesn't possess that unless they get those rights. So what they've done here is they kind of have an Uroko Saki that sort of is Lugosi-esque, and I think that's a really good compromise. I think it's smart. It works very well. And this head is the same on the regular release and this release as well. Just like the regular release, I love their color choices. Here there's almost an inverse going on because you have a burgundy outside and a black inside for the cape, and I think that's awesome in terms of contrast. I love how the ornamentation there in the middle is done in gold, and you can kind of see those designs a little closer that way. And I really do think that this is meant more to reflect the movie, and you'll see it with the helmet on here in a minute. And here is the Wal-Mart version, looking incredibly ornate. And here I have the third head option on this guy, which is more of the demon, or I guess really the bat head. So you can see that it actually has, you know, big fangs on it and large ears and everything. So I think it's much more bat-esque. And you can see that this cape is just solid black the whole way through. And a whole lot of this figure is that black, but they have some excellent gold accents and a gold chain there in the middle. Mr. T, eat your heart out. And down here we have some really cool gold chainmail right there. So I think it works really well. The boots are gold and there's kind of purple accents as well. So this colorway is a little less obvious, like where it's taking its cues. If the standard takes its cues from Dracula, and the Target version is taking its cues from the movie, then I think it's perfectly fair to say that this is kind of its own original thing. You can also sort of say that I guess that maybe there's a little bit of cartoon inspiration in there with some of the purple, but I mean, that's a long shot. And here they are with the Uroko Saki Bela Lugosi fusion heads. You can see that there's pretty much no difference between these two versions. But then you have a completely blue version over here, which is just so crazy that I kind of love it. And here they are in their more traditional Shredder helmet heads right here. And I think that these look really good in any of the colorways. I think the one unfortunate thing is that compared to the others, this one doesn't have as much paint variety. You can see that I guess there is somewhat of a different shade of burgundy maybe on this trim, but the other ones actually have a different color trim going on. Whether it's the red against the black here or the gold against the black here, this one is a little less varied. And this definitely evokes some of the first and second movie imagery, and you can see them from the back here, so those look really good as well. And here they are in their bat helmets, and these are just so gnarly looking. Each one just has such a cool look, of course with these two being the more similar, and the Wal-Mart one kind of standing on its own with a cool blue glow in the eyes instead of the red. They just have a terrific presence to them, especially with the capes flailed out like that. Next up, I want to talk more in depth about some of the sculpt kind of inspirations and things that I see on the figure. First of all, you know, it's truly probably their very best mix since, say, Frankenstein Raphael, in terms of mixing two characters together just as seamlessly as possible. And I really do think that this does it. It's such a great mix of the movie Shredder helmet along with the bat helmet that you can see Vlad the Impaler wearing at the beginning of Bram Stoker's Dracula that Gary Oldman starred in. And that's what I want to say is I think this colorway especially has lots and lots of inspiration from the armor that Dracula is seen wearing at the beginning of the movie. I mean, of course, it's the color putting us in mind of that, but if you look down here at the shin guards, the boots, the shorts, the padding up here, as well as the padding on the arms, it's pretty much undeniable after looking at the helmet that all of those ridges and everything are really inspired by that beautiful armor from the movie. And anybody who's watched that movie knows just what a visual feast that it is. And I am just tickled to death that they have clearly took a lot of inspiration from it, and I think it works really well. Another thing I really like that I wasn't exactly expecting was the chain right there. Sometimes you can kind of get this chain lost accidentally under the net guard, so you have to kind of give it a shake to get it back out, but it really works super well. Also, I really like the kind of insignias and things that are on his chest, but I can't really say for sure. Maybe in the middle there's kind of a symbol or a dragon or something. They're really cool and they look really ornate. I also really love what they did with all of the blades on the figure. You see, these are all pretty much that soft or rubbery plastic. The hardest version of the plastic is here for these two main blades on the hand, and this keeps it from being destroyed when you get it out of the package. I know that the Secret of the Ooze shredder really suffered from that on the helmet, but thankfully these guys don't have that issue. And it's really no surprise why it took so long to develop this figure. I think they really took their time and took a lot of care in how they approached this, and it's obvious from the final product. Of course, this category paint is kind of a funny one. A lot of the makeup of this has to do with the sheer variety we have in colorways. Of course, this is the most Dracula-like of any of the colorways. It is the main retail edition. I think that this one is probably the most interesting to analyze because this is the one most people will end up getting. I love how the teeth are gold, and there's kind of a Batman 66 vibe to that bright red, almost orange, against the black. It does kind of end up looking like the Batmobile a little bit. I especially like how the red ridges look on the Shredder's helmet, and they even have little red bolts sealing it at the top. That red trim continues down here, even to the knee pads and shin guards, and of course the lining of the cape. So I just think it's a beautiful thing. The gold kind of is accented as well by the crest on the chest. That, along with the silver and the black, of course, from the more traditional Dracula costume, really does a lot to make this a very striking version of the character. It does an incredible job of pulling double duty as both a striking version of Dracula as well as a striking version of Shredder, something that you would think might be pretty difficult to do if they had went too far in either direction. But I really do think that this works particularly well. And it's the rare universal Dracula figure that doesn't really need a Bela Lugosi likeness since they're doing this kind of mashup. So we'll definitely have a look at all the different accessories. Some of these are the same and some of these are very different. Anytime I'm showing you the accessories, on the left you'll see the Target stuff, in the middle the regular retail release, and on the right obviously the Wal-Mart stuff. So you get a very open bladed hand, a partially closed bladed hand, and in the back you get a fisted bladed hand. For his right hand, which does not have the blade, you can see that you get a closed fist, slightly open, and very open. You get a dead black rat, and those are exactly the same. You get a dead brown rat, and those are exactly the same. You get turtle skulls. You get these bladed weapons, which are exactly the same, and that's kind of a letdown because you would almost think that they would want to do something different with these in terms of colorway. You can connect them into these down here, which looks like big pots of maybe blood that he's drinking, or the things that these go in. I'm not really sure. I know that there's no difference in all three of these, but I just kind of accidentally discovered that you could plug those bladed weapons into these. I'm not even sure if they're meant to. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments what's going on there. You get a turtle with a candle on its back, so that's kind of funny. And these appear to be mostly the same, although it does look like one of them, the candle is a little more yellow. And then there's the heads. We have the Oroku Saki heads, we have the regular helmeted heads, and we have the full bat mode helmet heads. And that does it for the loadout of accessories that you get with this figure. So be warned for what I'm about to show you because it's pretty much just informational. I'm not sure if you want to try it or not, but these shoulder pads are just barely glued in, just a little bit of glue, and they have these little adapters that they plug into. From there you can actually take the cape off, and the same with this side, and you can have the figure be capeless if you wish, although I'm not sure there's a good way to get rid of any of this up here. But if this is something you're interested in, you can probably do it, and that does mean that you can switch the cape around. And although I certainly prefer him with the cape, I do think this is a pretty cool look as well, especially if you were wanting to replicate how at the end of that first film, He's not wearing his cape for the final battle, so it's pretty neat. For articulation, we'll be looking at the Wal-Mart version because it's probably the most mobile since he doesn't really have his helmet head on and is instead just wearing the Orokosaki head, or the Oroko Lugosi head, maybe. So you'll find that this guy has all of the standard NECA articulation that we've come to expect. I do find that the heads are kind of hard to pop on and off, so it's one of those deals where I probably need to heat it up. There we go, I think I got it on that time. The head goes up about that much and down about that much. It's kind of blocked by this neck guard, but I love the neck guard. It's kind of a cool thing that makes him more shredder-like. And of course you can go all the way around. This head being the most mobile, especially side to side, because he doesn't have the helmet on. The helmets do limit it a little bit. The arms go up about that far, so you can pretty much get 90 degrees. The deal is that the shoulder pads limit it, but like I shown with the standard color version, you can pop those off, but I don't really want to do that to the others because I found that it does cause the shoulder pads to pop off unintentionally. You can see that there is an excellent, I guess, double joint right here at the elbow. And it's so well constructed because, I mean, you can go right up to the face, no problem. So if you want him to look scandalized by, you know, just some awful werewolf or something, could you imagine Dracula being scandalized by something? It would have to be really bad. Anyway, though, I love how that's constructed. You can also rotate at either end, so you're not locked in either way. That does help a lot with the gauntlet here, because if you want to, you can rotate it all the way around there and bring the hand out for like that kind of I'm gonna get you turtles pose. You can see that he does have hinges at the hands, and of course those do rotate. You can bring the arm up about this much. Of course that shoulder pad does block it. You can bring it back even further maybe, so it's kind of interesting. You can see that there isn't a diaphragm joint, but the waist joint makes up for a lot of that because you can go back and you can go forward about as much as some diaphragm joints. So it does work pretty well. You can of course go around about that much before you start encountering a lot of resistance from this rubber piece. Now this rubber piece, it looks awesome, but we all know kind of the drill when it comes to NECA and these kind of skirt pieces. Sometimes they can inhibit the articulation quite a ways. So let's have a look. And there's no drop down in these hips, so you can really only comfortably go up about that much. That's pretty disappointing. I feel like they would have been much better off having this be some kind of soft goods, perhaps. I know that probably would have increased the budget of the figure, maybe the price point, but you know, this is pretty limited. It's probably okay for most poses, but yeah, you're going to be a little disappointed with that part. You can rotate the leg, of course. You can go out a little bit, but once again, he's not going to be doing anything too wide. That's about as wide as those feet go. That's of course limited by this rubber piece. Down here at the knee, you can rotate up here at the top portion, and you can't rotate at the bottom portion. You do get a nice double joint though, and it works very, very well. You can see that we do have a little bit of a rotation side to side, and of course there's a hinge going up and down that works really well, and ankle pivot. So you can hit those wide poses. It's just that because of the hips, you're not going to be able to put the legs themselves very wide, but probably his widest stance would be something like this, and as you can see, he has no trouble hitting it. We'll briefly talk about quality things, quality concerns. Like I said, it does seem like the heads are kind of hard to pop on and off, and that's usually not been the case lately with a lot of NECA figures I've gotten. Usually the head swaps haven't been too bad. These guys do seem like they're a little difficult. A lot of the times you'll think you have the head on, only to find that you really don't. I think part of the culprit are the neck braces that he's wearing. They kind of make it a little harder to navigate pushing that neck peg up into the head. So I think that that's part of what's causing that. The other quality concerns are just little bits and bobs here with paint and a couple of little spaces. It's never anything too huge though. The biggest issue I had was a blob of black paint that was on the shoulder pad, and I always just take, you know, some sort of alcohol or something like that and some isopropyl and just scrub it off with a paper towel, and it seemed to work just fine. So those were the biggest issues that I had. Other than that, there was a couple of blades that were a little bent. I have one here that I need to straighten out a little bit here on the gauntlet that's a little warped, but it's really all in all very minor stuff. And it's also fun to note, even though I won't be doing a lot of that here because it's just so time consuming, and I think you get the idea, but there's a whole lot of mixing and matching you can do with these guys, especially if you're brave enough to pop those shoulder pads off. I mean, there's just a little bit of glue holding them onto the pegs and could easily be re-glued if you wanted to, especially if you heat them up. You could easily mix and match shoulder pad colors, but I don't know. I don't really feel the need to do that because I feel that NECA has already matched things up really nicely, and I just don't think it would look very good to mix and match some of that stuff. But you certainly could, and even mixing and matching the capes is possible once you get those shoulder pads off. And as I'd said before, capeless look works too. So when it comes to 7-inch scale stuff, my go-to horse would be this one from McFarlane Toys. This came as the Build-A-Figure in the Dark Knight Returns wave. It seems to work really well for like NECA stuff and other 7-inch, 6-inch adjacent things. So let's see if it's even possible with the Shredder's skirting to even get on this horse. So I think your mileage is going to vary with this one when it comes to trying to get him onto this. You can kind of cheat it and make it look pretty good in a lot of shots, but because of that skirting, you can see that it's kind of hard for him not to float over top of it because the back doesn't have a slit. So that means that you kind of end up with this situation where it looks like he's kind of standing up over the saddle. You can kind of do this, I guess, and cheat it a little bit, having the reins in there, and that kind of helps close the gap a little bit. So you can definitely kind of have a fun look there. So yeah, not impossible, but not exactly ideal with the way you have to do it. And we'll certainly do some comparisons just for fun. I would be remiss not to bring out the Christopher Lee Dracula that we have from NECA that they put out last year. It is a beautiful figure, and it's so cool to see two iconic versions of the character side by side. Believe it or not, don't tell, but I do not have the Bela Lugosi NECA Dracula. I just haven't gotten around to getting it, but I think that's going to change this Halloween. I think I'll finally pick it up. I don't know why I was so late to get it. It looks incredible, but it's a shame that I don't. Here he is over here in picture form. The other Dracula that I have, though, to compare to him is a far more apt comparison. It's everybody's favorite version of the character, Bachelor. Now, this is a 6-inch version, but it's kind of funny to look at the spectrum of figures from this sort of scale, because you kind of have the shorter, the midway, and the tallest kind of version, even though this is more 6.5-inch or so from Super 7. And I wonder if some of you all remember those old videos that I did around Halloween where Dracula hosted it. Those were fun. For whatever reason, I have amassed quite a collection of NECA villains that are in like burgundy colors. I don't know what that is, or if it's just the way that it kind of works out a lot of the time in media, that they end up wearing those blood red burgundy colors. I did some group shots of all of them together. So here is like the latest Phantom of the Opera right here, the Mask of the Red Death version. So you can see that that looks really cool. And who could forget Beetlejuice? You can see that it looks quite good. They all have that similar burgundy color, and it looks really nice. And here's a fun one. We have the Splinter as Van Helsing up against the Shredder Dracula. So I actually think that's pretty cool. And definitely the thing that tipped me off to know that this is definitely what they would end up doing with Shredder for this line. And just really quick, we'll show you at least a couple of the Turtles monster figures that you can get alongside of Shredder. We have Leonardo and Raphael here. They look really good. And as you can see, the regular human-scaled characters work really well, with the Shredder being just about the same height. And here we have a couple more of the Turtles, look really good beside them. And to round out the line thus far, we have the ones Raphael and Michelangelo. Here's Shredder alongside of the latest Archie Comics Shredder right here. So, of course, it's pretty fun to see them side by side. The Archie Comics figure is a little bit shorter. We could probably go on and on forever with these comparisons to different Shredder figures, but I think you get the point. So in the end, my final thoughts about the figure is I really do think that this is one of the strongest releases from the Universal Ninja Turtles crossover line from NECA. It was one that has certainly taken the longest, I think, out of the entire line, and the line was really on quite a hiatus there for a little bit until this one came along. And I do think that the wait was definitely worth it. I've been hoping that they had been cooking up something really great, and I'm really glad that it turned out as traditionally as it did and didn't do anything too crazy. I think the biggest shortcomings that this figure has is definitely some of the articulation is a little stiff, as you would, of course expect from a NECA figure, and it's not going to be able to hit all those crazy poses that maybe some other things might be able to hit. But really, it's just more about that skirt piece and the shoulder armor. If you can learn to work with those, then you can get some pretty effective posing. And of course, I'm excited for this line to continue, so I'm looking forward to that as we go. As for price points, every one of these guys costs the same thing, which was right around, I think, $36 or $37. That's a pretty good value for what you're getting. We see all sorts of different figure lines going up in price, but with the amount of extra heads and all of the fun accessories you get with this guy and interchangeable hands and premium packaging, I think that that's still a pretty fair asking price. In a perfect world, you know, these guys would still be at $32, $33, and I think that that would be more a price that I would be comfortable with. But that doesn't mean that what they're asking for is unreasonable, especially compared to some of the more premium kind of figures and Kickstarter figures that are out there now. And in the end, that's kind of the impression I'm left with these three guys. It's almost as if I chose the all-in option on some kind of really dramatic figure Kickstarter and got all three color variants for something like that. That's definitely the vibe that I get out of this whole thing. That is definitely a positive feeling to feel that you've gotten something that premium when it was a mass market product. So I definitely have great vibes from getting all three of these guys, and I definitely don't regret doing so. And that's what I suggest for you all to do as well. This is pretty much a case where you can get all three of these guys for a little bit over $100. And I definitely think that that's about right for today's figure market, as sad as that may be. But I really do think that you're getting a pretty decent value here and getting three truly premium items. They're definitely going to be eye-catching and interesting for any Turtles collector, as well as any Universal Monsters collector. So it's one of those rare crossover items that has, I think, an equal appeal for either camp. However, I have a feeling it'll be mostly the Turtles collectors going for this guy. I still say that it is an absolutely excellent addition no matter which way your collecting leans. Besides, I could actually see all three of these guys existing in canon alongside each other in a display, as in my opinion, Shredder and Dracula are both incredibly vain characters. There's definitely some vanity shared between them, and I think that that can be reflected in Dracula or Shredder changing their outfit pretty frequently. Well, also, I think that you could say that Dracula may be using some dark magic here to appear in three very different ways, something like that, where he duplicates himself. I think that there are some canon explanations that you could come up with to make this work. More than anything, I think that he reminds me of the color explorations that I've seen from concept artwork of the abandoned, like 2001 or so, Kids WB. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series that had been working on before the 2003 For Kids series got picked up. So in that, they experimented with all sorts of different colorways for the Shredder, and each one of these you can find something in those many colorway experimentations and concept artworks that definitely reflect some of these different color variations on this figure. So that's just what it reminds me of. Kind of a deep cut, but if you're a Turtles nut like me, you know what I'm talking about. Alright guys, that'll do it for me. I sure do thank you all for watching today. I'm sorry that I don't get to upload as frequently. Being a dad now really does take a lot of my time, but since I had a couple of days off, I figured that it was the perfect time to do something that would be befitting of the Halloween season. Hopefully I get to do a couple of more fun reviews like this for the season, and I appreciate your support. Be sure to comment down below and let me know if you're going to get all three variations of this figure, or if you're just going to get one, or maybe you only own one. Why did you go with the one you chose? Let me know down below. And YouTube does have a weird new feature called the hype button, where apparently you can hype up videos from your favorite creators. That really does help this channel out. I'm not exactly sure how it all works just yet, but I do know that it would really help us out in terms of views and getting this video to be a little more discoverable. With all that said, as always, God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out.